My daughter-in-law, Laura, screamed, "This isn't your house!" She wanted to take over the house and push me out, but I sold it quickly to get back at her. Then she faced another shock that left her speechless. The story I'm going to tell is based on fiction and does not reflect real events. Enjoy listening. 2 years ago, my son Miguel called me one evening. His voice was anxious but calm. His wife, Laura, sounded shaky. They were in trouble. The new owner of their apartment decided to sell, and they had to move out urgently. I didn't hesitate. "Come here," I said. "The house is big enough for everyone. We're family." Miguel is my youngest son, and Paula and Carlos are my grandchildren. How could I say no? I remember that evening, cold, drizzly. Miguel unloaded boxes from my room while Laura stood in the hallway, scanning the house. Not just out of curiosity, but like a realtor sizing up a deal. The kids were already racing through the rooms. After their house, my tiny 2-bedroom home felt like a palace to them. "Thanks, Mom," Miguel said, hugging me tight. "It's just for a couple of months until we find something." Laura nodded, smiling, but I noticed how closely she eyed the furniture, layout, even the windows. It seemed normal then, a woman wanting to understand the space. I gave them my room, the upstairs bedroom and bathroom. I stayed in the guest room downstairs near the kitchen. The first weeks were peaceful. We barely crossed paths. Miguel worked long hours at the auto shop. Laura was still jobless, laid off from a dental clinic. The kids were in school. Then things started changing. One day, I stepped into the living room and barely recognized it. "Zenaida, do you mind?" Laura asked, already dragging my favorite sofa from the window to the wall. "It's better for the kids' homework." That sofa had been by the window for 15 years, placed there by my late father. He loved reading there. I nodded. "If it's easier." Then the kitchen tablecloth vanished. Not just any cloth, but one my mother hand-embroidered. In its place was a cartoon animal plastic cover. "Kids might spill," Laura explained when I gently asked. "Let's save it. Hide it away." The cloth was hidden. I never saw it again. That winter, Laura got a job as an administrator at a private clinic. Good pay. She and Miguel talked about finding a place again, but it was just talk. Spring passed, and the topic faded. Meanwhile, the house kept changing. A huge TV appeared in the living room. Miguel got it as payment for a job. My old TV was moved to my room. "So you can watch in peace," Laura said. "Kids disturb you." The fridge changed too. My kefir, cottage cheese, and salads disappeared. Instead, there were kids' yogurts, sausages, and pizza. Laura shopped weekly, and the fridge followed her rules, not mine. Even her words shifted. She said, "Our guests, our kids are sick. We're out of bread more often and less yours, or can we?" I worked as a nurse for 38 years. After my father's death, the house felt too quiet. I welcomed the noise, kids' voices, footsteps on the stairs. It felt alive again. But slowly, I realized my opinion didn't matter. Before, Laura asked if she could invite a friend for tea. Now, she just announced, "Camilla's coming tomorrow with her kids." The classical music I loved drew her frowns. Carlos would walk up and switch off the radio. "Grandma, your music's boring." Laura stayed silent. That summer, the garden broke me. One morning, I went to trim my roses, grown for over a decade. Instead, I found overturned soil, scattered branches, and chopped stems. My legs shook. "Laura!" I called, though I knew whose work it was. She stepped out with a watering can, casual as ever. "What's this?" I asked, barely controlling my voice. We're putting in a playground, she said, like it was as simple as moving a sofa. Kids need a place to play. You can plant roses elsewhere. Elsewhere? There was no other spot. Where my roses had been, swings and a sandbox now stood. Miguel built them over the weekend. It was done swiftly, secretly, without me. I turned and walked inside. I knew if I spoke, my voice would crack. I wouldn't humiliate myself in front of my grandchildren. By fall, I was no longer the homeowner. I was a quiet, polite guest who didn't disturb or ask for much. My routine bent to their schedule. My habits were seen as old woman quirks. My things vanished. One day, I couldn't find my cup, the one I'd used for morning tea my whole life. Probably broke, Laura shrugged when I asked. Kids, you know. A week later, I found it tucked deep in a kitchen cabinet behind jam jars, whole, clean, just unwanted. Someone decided there were enough cups, and mine could be hidden. That winter, the push-out began in earnest. Laura made loud remarks, especially around the kids. Zenaida, could you clean up after yourself right away? Cleanliness matters with kids. I'd always cleaned up, but now a spoon in the sink was an issue. Miguel stayed quiet, tired from work, eating, then sitting by the TV. Mom, don't mind her, he'd say. Laura's stressed, kids are tough. We'll find a place soon, be patient. But soon never came. When I gently asked about their apartment hunt, Laura said nothing fit, wrong price, wrong area. My eldest son, Vicente, visited rarely, every couple of months. He was an engineer in a nearby city, single. When he came, things balanced out. Laura was more reserved. The kids hushed. Miguel stayed close. How are you, Mom? Vicente asked. Fine, son, I always said. What could I say? That I felt like a stranger in my own home? That my daughter-in-law was slowly edging me out? It would sound like an old woman whining, unable to live with a young family. Maybe I was too picky. Maybe I should be glad for the kids' voices instead of clinging to old habits. But at night, hearing laughter and doors slamming upstairs, I knew I was surplus. This wasn't my house anymore. I didn't know how to stop it. That spring, it all snapped. Gradually, like water wearing down a stone, until the stone cracks. One evening after dinner, I approached Laura in the kitchen as she washed dishes. Laura, I'd like to invite 3 friends for tea on Sunday. We haven't met in ages. We'll sit in the living room for a couple of hours. I'll clean up. She stayed silent, wiping a plate as if she hadn't heard. Then, without turning, she said, Can it be another Sunday? It's Paula's birthday. I froze. Paula's birthday? But hers is in mid-October. We're celebrating early. It's better for the kids before school breaks. Don't interfere. I nodded. Something inside me went numb, like a deep, quiet blow. Okay, the next one then. We'll see, she tossed back, leaving the sink water running. The next day, I asked my granddaughter, Paula, is your birthday this Sunday? No, Grandma. You know it's in October. Why? I said nothing. It was clear. On Friday, I tried again. Can I invite my friends next Sunday? We've planned it. Just once a month, Laura. She looked up from her phone, annoyed. Zenaida, enough. We're a family. We want the living room, too. You and your old ladies always complain, talking loudly. It's awkward. This isn't a cafe. They're my friends. We just have tea. They're not strangers. Not to you, but to us. They're old women, repeating how things were better before. Something inside me broke. Fine, I said. We'll sit in the kitchen. She scoffed. 4 people in the kitchen? Like a commune? Don't you have better things to do? The next day, I overheard her on the phone with a friend. Come tomorrow, as usual. Bring the kids. Ours will play. We'll chat. All under control. I stayed silent. That evening, I tried Miguel. Son, can I invite my friends tomorrow? We'll be quiet, just a couple of hours. He didn't look up from the TV. Mom, talk to Laura. It's her thing. She said it's inconvenient. Be patient. You know I'm not asking for much. He sighed. Mom, we live together. We have to compromise. Together. So I was just one of many. Not the homeowner, not the mother, not the widow who'd lived here over 20 years. Just an elderly roommate who got in the way. Sunday morning, I baked a pie, set out the china, and boiled the kettle. My friends were due at 2. At 1, Mira called. Zenaida, we're sitting in the living room, right? Clara's back hurts. She can't sit on a stool. I'll handle it, I said, unsure how. I found Laura in the bathroom, painting her nails. Laura, Clara's back is bad. Can we use the living room? Just until 3. She didn't turn. No, I said tomorrow's for guests. I don't need your old lady perfume stinking up the place or talk about ailments and politics. I stood silently, then said calmly, Laura, this is my house. I've lived here 23 years. I have the right to invite friends to my living room. She spun around, knocking over a nail polish bottle that spilled on the white table. That's what happens when you demand things, she snapped, wiping the stain. I'm sick of you and your guests. This is a family home. We have kids, plans, and you keep pushing your quirks. Want to meet? Go to a park or cafe. But this is my house, she exploded. This isn't your house, she screamed. It's ours. We all live here, and you can't dictate how we live. The house went silent. Music stopped. The TV muted. Even the kids froze. I stared at her, her words echoing. This isn't your house. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling. Laura's words looped like a stuck record. At some point, I sat up, turned on the lamp, and pulled an old folder from the closet. Inside were the house documents: deed, cadastral passport, registry extract. After my father's death, it was all in my name. Legally, it was mine. But in reality, I was a guest. The next day, when everyone left, Miguel to work, Laura and kids to school and the clinic, I opened the phone book and found a real estate agency. New home. I called. Hello, I'm Zenaida. I need a private house appraisal. I'm considering selling. The woman on the line was polite. We set a meeting at their office for the next day. I jotted the address on a scrap of paper and hid it in my old wallet under my father's photo. I went under the guise of errands. No one noticed I was gone. At the agency, a woman in her 40s, Alejandra Romero, was attentive and professional. Tell me about the house, she said. 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, kitchen, living room, small garden. Quiet area, 15 minutes to downtown. She nodded, made notes, and tapped her calculator. Preliminary estimate: 13 to 14 million rubles, depending on inspection and deal urgency. I nearly choked. When my father and I bought it, it cost 3 million. We took loans, scraped by. Now this much? How fast could it sell? I asked cautiously. For 12 to 12.5 million, we have buyers looking in your area, a family with kids, husband's a banker, wife's a teacher. She paused. If you decide, we can show it to them without listing. They're ready. Deal could close in a month. I nodded. I'll think it over. Just an appraisal for now. Back home, no one cared. Miguel tinkered in the garage. Laura was on her phone. Kids watched TV. Not one person noticed I was gone 3 hours. Not one asked where I'd been. That's when I knew I was nobody here. The next day, Alejandra called. Zenaida, the family's interested. They want to see the house this weekend. No commitment, just a viewing. I looked out the window. Carlos was scattering toys in the yard. Laura yelled from upstairs, "Pick it up or Grandma will complain again." I said into the phone, "Show it Saturday morning. I'll make sure no one's home." Friday night at dinner, I announced, "Mira's blood pressure's acting up. I'm visiting her tomorrow to help." "How long?" Laura asked, not looking up from her plate. "Till noon, maybe." "Fine," she shrugged. "We'll manage." Saturday morning, I woke early, tidied the living room, dusted, picked up toys, arranged chairs, and laid out magazines. The house had to look worthy. It was still mine. At 11 a.m., a car pulled up. 3 people stepped out. A man about 35, a woman his age, and Alejandra. "Zenaida, meet Antonio and Teresa Beltran," Alejandra said. They toured the house, asking about the roof, utilities, and neighbors. I showed everything calmly, proudly, like when my father and I first moved in. "Nice house," Antonio said. "Great garden, spacious, not like those new high-rises." "We've been looking for this," Teresa added. "The kids will love it." They exchanged a look. "We're ready," Antonio said. 12.5 million cash, if the deal closes in a month." Alejandra pulled out a folder. "We can sign a preliminary contract now." I looked at them, and a weight lifted. I agreed. After signing, I was alone in the house, truly alone for the first time in ages. I sat in the living room, leaning on the sofa armrest, gazing at the walls, curtains, and bookshelf. It was familiar, yet foreign. The house was still mine, but not for them. The final deal was set for October 15th. I had 3 weeks to pack, stay quiet, and wait. I'd tell them only when there was no turning back. That week, I moved like a ghost. At night, I sorted my things, what to keep, what to take, photo albums, documents, some books. The rest could stay. When I overheard Laura on the phone planning to redecorate the living room, new wallpaper, a decent sofa, I just smirked. It wasn't her concern anymore. On October 13th, at dinner, everyone was there. The kids did homework. Miguel read the paper. Laura fried cutlets. I sipped tea, resolved. I looked at them, no anger, just clarity. "I have news," I said. "What?" Laura asked, head down. "I sold the house." Silence hit. The kettle paused. "What?" Laura whispered. "Sold. Deal closes the day after tomorrow. New owners move out in a week." Laura's spoon. Miguel froze, fork midair. The kids stared. "You're joking?" Miguel stammered. "You can't!" Laura screamed, leaping up. "We've got kids! We live here!" "It's my house, in my name. I can do what I see fit," Laura said. "You're kicking us out?" Panic cracked her voice. "I'm not kicking anyone out. I'm selling. You have a week to move." Miguel stood, rubbing his face. "Mom, why? Why didn't you tell us?" "I tried. I said you to find a place. You said it wasn't time. It's hard. Wait, 2 years passed, and this isn't my home anymore. I'm not here." Laura hissed, swallowing venom. "You schemed this? Secretly, deceitfully? I'm tired." She bolted upstairs, slamming the door. Miguel sat, head in hands. "Mom, we didn't expect this. I thought we were fine." "I know, Miguel, but you forgot what it's like to be the homeowner in your own house, when your word counts, not dismissed." He nodded, silent. That evening, Laura came down, eyes red, voice cold. "Fine, we'll leave. But you've ruined this family. Your grandchildren homeless now. You'll regret it." "Maybe," I said calmly, "but I've reclaimed my life." October 14th was gray and cold. The house woke early, but no one ate together. Miguel searched online, pacing with his phone. Laura shuffled papers, made calls. The kids were oddly quiet. I drank tea in my room, my last breakfast here. The deal was tomorrow. Tomorrow the keys would pass to strangers. I'd leave forever. Around noon, the doorbell rang. A man in a suit stood there. "Good afternoon. I'm Laura's lawyer. I'd like to discuss the sale's legality." I nodded. "It's legal. The house, my name, check the papers." He nodded. "My client feels her rights were violated. She lives here, has children, and demands a delay. She's got no legal standing. Not an owner, not a tenant, just a guest." He left empty-handed. I went to the garden. Fall had settled in, wilted grass, leaves on the flower beds where my roses once grew. The roses Laura and I ripped out for swings were gone. The swings rotted away in 2 summers. Just stumps and bare earth remained. Fitting. That evening, Miguel sat with me. "Mom, we rented a small 3-bedroom on the outskirts. Tight, but it'll do." I nodded. He spoke flatly, drained. I pitied him. Not angry, not bitter, just sad. He wasn't cruel, just spineless. "Sorry," he said suddenly, "for not stopping it sooner. I let her treat you like that. I saw it and ignored it. It was easy for us." I looked at him, seeing shame in his eyes, not confusion. "Miguel, you're my son. I love you, I do, but everyone needs their own house. And boundaries. I learned that too late." "Do you want us gone for good?" he asked softly. "Not gone, but I won't live with you. Visiting depends. On you." The next morning, I woke at 6. Bags by the door, papers ready, emotions buried deep. By 9:09, I stepped out, closing the heavy front door. At 10:10, I signed the notary papers. I, Alejandra, stood Antonio and Miguel and Teresa, the buyers, glowing with joy. "Thank you," Teresa said. "We'll cherish it." I smiled. I nodded it was. That's all I needed. Back home, it was a frantic mess. Laura darted around. Kids tripped over boxes, rugs. Miguel sat in the hall, eyes blank. "Satisfied?" Laura spat, tying a bag. "We're leaving. Enjoy your cold, empty house." "It's not mine anymore," I said calmly. "I gave her the keys. New owners take over tomorrow." She reeled, like I'd slapped her. "You already sold?" Silence. A child asked, "Mom, where's Grandma living now?" I looked at Paula. "I have my own place now. Small, but mine." Laura said nothing. She stormed out, slamming the door. Miguel approached and hugged me. "Mom, thanks for the house, for everything." "Years. Sorry." I hugged back. "Live, learn, be better. I'm not angry." We parted. I stood by the gate, watching their van turn the corner, then gone. I walked back into a house that wasn't mine. On October 17th, I woke in a temporary hostel room. Rain tapped outside. The air smelled of fresh linens and something new. Clean. Unknown. I lay still, not thinking of the house, kids, or Laura for the first time in forever. I nodded. It was time to move. At 9 Alejandra arrived. "Zenaida, it's all set. Your keys and papers are ready, let's go." The apartment was better than I recalled. Clean, bright, warm. A small kitchen, everything at arm's reach, a living room with a sofa and shelves, a bedroom with a window to a yard and an old elm by the silliness. Quiet. No one shouted, moved furniture, or glared at me. "You'll like it here," Alejandra said. "Good spot, calm neighbors, pharmacy nearby." I nodded. This is what I needed, a place where no one touches my spoon. We signed the transfer. It was official. My home, my walls, my life. That evening, I unpacked my modest things, placed my father's photo on the nightstand, shelved books, and set my cup, the one hidden behind jam jars, on the table. By candlelight, I sipped tea in my armchair, feeling a silence that didn't crush but held me. At 8 p.m., Vicente called. "Mom, you good?" "Good, son. I've got a cozy place now, quiet now." "Miguel said you sold it all, handled it alone, No scenes. That's bold. Sorry I wasn't visit more. It's fine. I stayed silent too long. I nodded. You're tough. No, son, I just feared losing myself more than staying me. A few days later, I hosted Mira and Laura and Clara and Valentina, friends I'd squeezed into my kitchen before. We sat in my living room, poured tea, shared pie. No whispers, no rush, no glares. It's so quiet, Zenaida, Clara said. Cozy, real. Mira smiled. You're the boss here. I grinned. I get it. The next day, Alejandra Beltran, the new owner, called. Sorry to bother you, Zenaida, but my aunt knows your friend Mira's friend. She spoke highly of your son Vicente. We've got a small annex by the house. Could be a studio. If Vicente ever moves back to Saransk, we'd rent it cheap. We want good tenants. I paused. Thanks. I'll tell him. It meant more than you know. Sometimes the world's kinder than we think. In November, Vicente moved to Saransk. He'd wanted to go remote for ages, and now he had a reason. He rented that annex, a room with a stove, bathroom, and entry. Simple, quiet, cozy. Perfect for him. Mom, I'm 2 blocks away, he said one evening over tea. Drop by any time. By invite, I teased. We laughed, watching the yard glow under streetlights. You know, Vicente said, sipping, I get it. You didn't flee, you reclaimed. You didn't break the family, you just stopped being their doormat. That scares people. I just tired of living where my name was on the deed, but my voice was trash. I said softly. Home now? Yeah. In December, Miguel called, his voice flat. Hey, Mom. Hey. We moved from that rental to another closer to downtown. Kids are okay. Changed schools. Good. Settling, tight, pricey, but we're managing. Pause. He nodded. Mom, I get it now. I don't want excuses or forgiveness to feel better. I see how you felt now. We cornered you, treated you like staff in your house. It's past, son. Can I bring the kids sometime? Just us? Call first, maybe. He exhaled. Thanks. I'm glad you didn't break. New Year's, I was in my apartment. No noise, no fights, no pots or voices in my bathroom. Salad, a small wine, a candle on the table. My cup by the table, a blanket on my lap. At midnight, I lit a sparkler. Fireworks bloomed outside. Kids shouted, firecrackers popped, music hummed faintly. But here in my room, it was warmth and quiet. I knew I wasn't a guest anymore. I was home. Thanks for listening. If this resonated, subscribe and comment. Share your stories or thoughts. It boosts the video and inspires more heartfelt tales. Thank you. Stay well, live long,